Look, I'm just going to be honest. Islam Makhachev versus Leon Edwards, terrible fight for Islam Makhachev. Leon Edwards literally rose to the top of a wrestling-heavy division to become champion. Islam Makhachev, undersized, because Leon Edwards is huge, fights great in the clinch, so yeah, I don't like that fight. But I still kind of want to see it, because it'd be Islam versus a top 3 pound for pound, again, with the Volkanovski fights. But Islam Makhachev is the man of the hour. He did defeat my boy Dustin Poirier. Really hurt my feelings, man. I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan. But the Makhachev and Edwards fight, I don't get. I just don't see how. Alright, I know there's a lot of hate for Leon Edwards for being a boring fighter. And let's be honest, after the Colby Covington fight, it was a little bit warranted, although most of that was on Colby Covington, right? Right? So yeah, I get it. He's not an exciting fighter. Leon Edwards is not an exciting fighter. To me, he's exciting though. I enjoy Leon Edwards because of his anti-wrestling abilities. If you want to know more about how Leon Edwards anti-wrestles, read this article right here. Leon Edwards and his anti-wrestling technique. I broke down why he's so good, why he circles out, why he does it. I did all of this. And basically, he circles out, he beats people up in the clinch, and after losing to Kamaru Usman in 2015, he worked on becoming the best anti-wrestler in the sport. Does he get taken down? Yes. But he punishes people in the clinch, he makes sure he can get up, and he can take somebody down if he really wants to. Islam Makhachev, great. Oh my gosh. So the main event, UFC 302. Defeated Dustin Poirier, mentioned that already. Duh. But Islam got busted up in this fight. And I don't know if it's because Islam Makhachev fought a better Dustin Poirier than Khabib did, or if Islam Makhachev is not as good of a fighter as Khabib is. Now, I say that Islam is definitely a more I can never say that right, well-rounded fighter than Khabib was. Khabib's like, I'm going pressure. I'm going to get you to the fence. You're going to be scared of my takedowns because, for good reason, I'm going to beat you up while I'm down there. Islam's like, hey guys, look, I'm a southpaw. I can box, and I can box actually fairly competently. A lot of people are already asking, oh, is it time to start asking how good is Islam Makhachev's boxing? Okay, I get it. He had a good performance against a good boxer in Dustin Poirier. Let's not put the cart before the horse here and forget about people like Petr Yan, who's a great boxer. And y'all are going to crap on me for that, but I don't care. Alex Pereira is a great boxer. Magomed Ankalaev, another really good boxer with good 1-2s. You've got Max Holloway in there. Calvin Kattar even. You've got Conor McGregor boxed. You've got all these guys that are actually really good boxers. What Islam Makhachev does that's so good standing up, it's not the fact that he's a good boxer. It's that he's a southpaw and he knows his southpaw tools. And this was a very eye-opening fight to me because Dustin Poirier is also a southpaw. A lot of the issues that Volkanovski gave Islam Makhachev in their first fight was for the fact that he switched stances a lot. Now, Dustin Poirier did not switch stance. He usually has the Poirier shift where he steps through, and I totally thought that was going to play more of a thing into this fight. Instead, it was not that at all. Instead, Poirier stayed in southpaw for the most of the fight, and Makhachev dealt with that well. Going from an open stance matchup to where you have a southpaw versus orthodox, that open side body kick is there, and Islam Makhachev loves that. He loves the open side body kick. As a matter of fact, the open side kick is how he knocked out Alexander Volkanovski in the rematch. That wasn't a body kick, but Volkanovski's so short, it might as well have been a body kick. Just kidding. I love Volk. No, but in all honesty, though, it was the high kick from the open side that paid benefits to Islam Makhachev in that fight. This he didn't have because they're a closed stance matchup. The two lead feet are opposite of each other, which means that the open side kick isn't there. So Makhachev doesn't have this open side kick. What does he do instead? He does a lot of work in the clinch, and he did great. He loves grabbing double collar ties and hitting the knee. And he will also change levels off of that too. So he'll go down and he'll drive you into the fence. He'll grab to a single. And that's another thing that I really, really enjoyed about Makhachev in this fight. Is his cage wrestling. It's the typical Dagestani stuff that we've grown accustomed to. He's fantastic when it gets to the fence. He doesn't sit there and let you rest for so long. We talked about this. Which fight was it on this card that we talked about it? Let's see, Randy Brown and Elizeu Zaleski, which we'll be talking about later. We talked about this on the Fight Companion, which it was the first time I did it. It was actually pretty fun. You guys should come hang out next time, right? Anyways, when Zaleski was pushing Randy Brown into the fence, he was letting Randy Brown get set. He was letting Randy Brown pummel, get the underhook, and pull him up. What Islam Makhachev does, it's fantastic. He's going to wrestle, and when you start to pummel, he's like, okay, this isn't going to work. You're about to get the pummel. When he realizes he can get it, he switches. He goes to the back. He's like, all right, now I'm going to drag you down from the back. Now we're going to try and trip you. And when that doesn't work and you post, he goes back around the side, starts to soften you up a little bit. It's the typical Dagestani stuff you think about. And once he gets you to the ground, he tries to get that one hook in. He will wedge himself in between you and the fence and really start to do some work on you. And we saw that with Dustin Poirier, where he had Dustin Poirier on the ground, and he was sufficient for just rear naked chokes. And it was just, it's easy submissions for him. He's got high percentage chance of getting a submission there. A rear naked choke is the highest percentage of a finish you can get in submission for the UFC. The highest submission percentage. No other submission, not an armbar, not a Kimura, nothing else comes close to what a rear naked choke can. A Darce is the next thing. Coincidentally, he choked him out with the Darce in the 5th round. So Islam Makhachev, what's next for him? Arman Tsarukyan is the obvious answer to this, and a lot of people are not calling for that, even though Arman is like the number 1 contender. He just beat Oliveira. He beat Beneil Dariush. There's no reason that Arman Tsarukyan, who's ranked number 1 by the UFC in the lightweight rankings, there's no reason he should not get that title shot next, unless Islam goes up to 170. Obviously, Leon Edwards has Bilal Muhammad to worry about. I don't see that being a problem. He was working Bilal the first time. It'll probably be a harder fight this time out for Leon Edwards. Before the eye gouge, obviously, he was piecing him up. He was really putting it on him. And this time, I think Bilal will come with a better game plan. Bilal is a better fighter now. But if Leon can get past Bilal, when he gets past Bilal, I think we can see a Islam Makhachev going for double champ status. But I don't know if the timing's right yet or not. Both of them have several title defenses. They have 2 or 3 of them apiece. But there's so much, like, the lightweight does need to sort itself out. But there is a clear-cut contender in Arman Tsarukyan. So let's do that. And if you don't, like, I'm going to pull up the rankings here. I have Tapology pulled up, but I don't have the rankings because you guys know I'm never prepared, right? UFC.com/rankings, and I'm looking here at lightweight. Arman Tsarukyan's number 1. Charles Oliveira's coming off a loss to Arman Tsarukyan, and Islam beat him already. Justin Gaethje coming off a loss to Max Holloway. No way you could put him in there, right? Dustin Poirier just lost. Number 5, Mateusz Gamrot. That'd be your next one. And when the rankings come out, I expect to see Mateusz and Dustin to swap places. Maybe even put Michael Chandler in over Dustin Poirier just because of the recent loss. I don't see him dropping as far as 7, but I could see that. Max Holloway's another option. I don't think that'll happen. Max is worried about 145 right now and going back to that. So lots of good things in the works for Islam Makhachev, and I think that the fight was fantastic. He fought great. It was a hard fight, and I don't want to take away from what he's done by saying, like, oh, Dustin showed out and did better than he did, because that's what we're about to talk about is how well Dustin Poirier fought. Islam fought just as good, and he ended up winning that fight. Dustin Poirier comes up short, still a king. I mean, when you look at the resume of Dustin Poirier, who he's fought, like who he's beat, much less who he's fought, because he's fought and beat totally different sets of opponents. Like, he lost to Islam Makhachev, right? But he beat Benoit Saint-Denis. That's a win that's going to pay off well in the future here. Justin Gaethje, he beat with a head kick. Or he lost to and he beat Justin Gaethje with a cross and some ground and pound. Michael Chandler, he beat. Lost to Charles Oliveira. Conor McGregor. So think about this run. McGregor, Oliveira, Chandler, Gaethje, Benoit, Islam. Those last 7 fights are hectic. And then the Dan Hooker fight, not an easy fight. Khabib Nurmagomedov before that. Beat Max Holloway before that. Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez. Jeez, that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hold on, I got to recount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fight run of nothing but absolute killers. And that doesn't count what he fought before. Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, Jim Miller, Yancy Medeiros, Diego Ferreira, Conor McGregor again, Cub Swanson, Korean Zombie, Max Holloway. Dustin is as game as it gets. That fight, he fought better than he has in forever. ever. Maybe the Conor McGregor rematch, he fought better in that. Because that fight, he was like hell on wheels in that fight. He got Conor to the ground and he started really working on Conor's. He was grounding and pounding and really just putting it on him. So, man, it really sucks because like the whole undisputed thing is what matters. And like his interim title, it was because Khabib had Ramadan. We didn't have an interim title just now, and Islam had to go through Ramadan for a month. It really was one of those pointless interim titles. That doesn't take away from everything he did. He's got a foot out the door. I would like to see him retire. Maybe they come to New Orleans, maybe they do a fight in New Orleans, and I can go see it live and hang out and back crew with everybody. That'd be pretty cool, right? But yeah, if Dustin Poirier were to say, hey, I'm hanging it up now, I'm happy with what his career's been. Maybe he wants to go out on a win. He has so much money. He says he doesn't need financial money. He's obviously been smart with his money. I wouldn't mind never seeing him again, especially after that performance. Because that performance, he showed his grappling abilities to where he's like, hey, I am not a fish in a barrel here for Islam Makhachev. This is not a wash, rinse, and repeat of Khabib's fight with me. He managed to circle well, didn't go back at a straight line, fought in the clinch well, even though Islam was better in the clinch. Like, dude, he was caught in a Kimura in the first round, and he got up off of that. He got caught in the armbar when he was getting up, and he flipped over Islam off the fence like Jiri Prochazka style. He learned a thing or two from Alexander Volkanovski. You know, we saw a lot of Dustin Poirier's heart in this fight. And like I could go into the technique of it and how he utilized the hooks to the body to kind of wear on Makhachev, and it worked really well in the clinch until it didn't. We can talk about how Dustin Poirier really kind of scrambled well in this fight until Makhachev hit that golf swing with the leg, the ankle pick that everybody's talking about, the Sonda style ankle pick. We see that all the time. We see that in Sonda all the time. Like when I was at the World Championships, that's literally something they drilled over and over and over again in the back because there's so much emphasis taking into kicks and into takedowns that they grab the leg and they're like, okay, we're going to get the takedown. That's going to give us more points. So we see that all the time. Is it basic? Yeah. Dustin dealt with so many different kinds of shots. He dealt with Islam dragging him down, Islam putting him against the fence, shots in the open, shots against the fence. He dealt with all of it, and for the most part, did it well. Just that last second in the last moments of the fight to where he got caught in the front headlock and allowed Islam to set up the Darce choke. That's it. So yeah, fantastic performance from Dustin Poirier. Like there's nothing that we can take away from this guy as a champion of the sport and what a mixed martial artist should be. He was never a champion, but neither was like Cowboy Cerrone. I don't think Dan Henderson was a UFC champion. Alistair Overeem. These guys were great. And they never won a belt. I just don't want to see him go out on 5 losses in a row. And he's still very competitive. He could still beat Justin Gaethje if they fought again. As a matter of fact, that might be the last fight he does. He beat Benoit Saint-Denis, you know. There's so much that he can still do, but he doesn't have to. And that's kind of the point. Especially when you're a guy like Dustin Poirier now who's never getting a title shot. Plain and simple. And that's the last time, his 3rd title shot, that's the last one he's ever going to get. Unless something happens like we're short notice. I don't see that happen. Is he leaving the door open for Conor McGregor? Maybe. That might be something in the future, but who knows. I just know this. I know when I go back and think about Dustin Poirier, I think about one of the best lightweights who has ever fought in the UFC. Plain and simple. He fights again, fantastic. If not, no big deal. Sean Strickland did his thing. That's who we're talking about next. Sean Strickland. Boring fighter. Everybody's acting like Sean Strickland is a killer. They don't know what they're talking about. This is how he's always fought. Take it for somebody who used to have to do a weekly column on the main event for Sherdog, and we had like 6 Sean Strickland main events. That's exaggerating a little bit, but we had a lot of Sean, and I had to find things he did good. And he does these things that are good, and he does them no matter what. You have to make Sean Strickland fight different. Go back and look at his 2 losses with Jarrett Cannonier and Dricus du Plessis. He fought those fights how he always does, but it was the wildness of Dricus du Plessis that lost Sean Strickland the title. It made him fight different, and du Plessis really did dig deep and get what he had to do do what he had to do to win that fight. But you look at Jared Cannonier, it was the power of Cannonier backing him up. Cannonier did some cool things to where he like stepped through into orthodox and the southpaw and back, and it really did have Sean on the back foot. You got to make Sean Strickland fight different. Paulo Costa did not make Sean Strickland fight different at all. Sean Strickland got the win, a split decision, which was wild, by the way. Can we talk about that? Like, who had Paulo Costa winning 3-4 rounds? Not me. That was a Sean Strickland fight through and through. I saw people complaining online. I'm not going to name them, but they were like, that's not a one-sided fight. Like, yeah, that was a one-sided affair. Sean Strickland does the whole march thing where, you know, the thing was picking his legs up high. And, like, why does he do that? He's putting himself on one leg. And if he were to run up against a good wrestler at middleweight, they probably would shoot. They would probably shoot. Now, he has that teep. That's dangerous from that position, sure. But if you shoot to the outside or to the inside, just don't run right into the foot. Don't run into the knee. That's it. That is it. So I'm looking here. Who could he run into like that? Cannonier, Whitaker. You got Khamzat Chimaev that might give him hell. That's really it. Marvin Vettori, that'd be another one that can kind of give him a hard time. Cal Barrios coming up. He's got decent... Like, Roman Dolidze can't take anybody down. Fluffy, yeah. Like, there's some wrestlers coming up that might give him a really hard... Ikram Aleskarov, another good one. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot out there that could be scary for Sean Strickland. He's just getting matched up well. And now he says he wants to fight Duplessis. I don't blame him. I would like to see him versus Robert Whitaker, though. As for Paulo Costa, you got, like I said, you got to make him fight different. And he didn't. He didn't make him fight different at all. What do you expect? He's talking about, I got to go and take heads off. Like, Costa's been so inactive that he forgets how to fight right. Because, like, think about it. Costa, like, won his title shot, fought Adesanya, and then I'm looking at his record now. Fought Izzy in 2020. Came back in 21. That horrible fight with Marvin Vettori where he missed weight and sounds like it's your problem. 2022 comes back Luke Rockhold. Doesn't fight in 2023. Fights twice in 2024 already. So, like, it looks like he's fighting, but he's lost to Strickland and Whitaker, two of the best fighters in the division. So, you got to do more, Paulo Costa. You got to get active. And this activity, I see him fight, yeah, I like that. But he is going to have to fight down in the rankings now. He definitely has to fight down in the rankings. Don't fight Khamzat. That's the type of fight you want to avoid. That was just, rough. I don't know how to feel about Paulo Costa after this. Sean Strickland, he fought the same as he always does, and then he does the whole Spartan kick at the end. It's like, you have no business taking screenshots of that, because don't let that fool anybody about Sean Strickland. Kevin Holland snapped Oleksichuk's arm. Horrible. Kevin Holland decided he wanted to kick, and Oleksichuk's like, hey, I'll take that opportunity to take you down. Caught him with the left, I believe it was, and knocked him down. Holland gets up. Same thing. This time Holland gets the armbar. And Oleksichuk doesn't tap. Tap or snap, right? He snapped. I don't know actually if it came out that he did snap his arm, but I mean that had to have been. I was on the live stream like, oh, like my stomach was turning. That was a rough one, guys. I don't know, like it's my old age, it's the kids, having kids, and I just got a weak stomach now for that kind of stuff, like leg breaks and all that. Like, don't want to see that. You remember like Jacare when he broke his arm? He had his arm broke. Oh my gosh, that was rough, very rough. Holland gets the win. Good for him, you know. He 26-11, lost to Page and Jack Della, so this was a good rebound, and that was a good fight for him to take. Now he'll win his next fight and then lose his next two, because that's what he's done the last 7 fights now, or 6. Let's see, Alex Morono and Nico Price, really good first round. The other two, they just got very, very tired. Randy Brown and Elijah Zalecki, we mentioned Randy Brown, he got the win, the decision. Zalecki let him, you know, hang out too much on the fence, and he used that length. And Randy Brown really does use his length very well. Like, remember that Muslim Salikov knockout in his last fight? He managed to keep Zalecki on the end of his punches, and he shifts off to the side. He takes a step out. And he did that here. He just couldn't find the cross to put down Elijah Zalecki. So, good win for Randy Brown. Roman Kopylov beat Cesar Almeida. Kopylov looked fantastic in that first round, and then he realized, oh, Almeida's getting the best of me. I need to go ahead and get these takedowns, and he did, and he rode that out. Jailton Almeida choked out Alexander Romanov. Grant Dawson dominated Joe Selecki. Jake Matthews surprised me. He beat Phil Rowe. Basil Hafiez and Mickey Gall, very close fight. Mickey Gall 7-6. Doesn't need to be in the UFC anymore. Alan Perez beat Jocelyn Edwards. Andre Lima beat Mitch Raposo. So, yeah, I'll be honest, guys, the card wasn't that good. It just wasn't. 2 finishes, both of them submissions. Like, I don't hate submission finishes. I want knockouts though. We didn't get that. Sucks to suck, right? So yeah, I don't know how to feel about it, man. Like, yeah, 302 we had the great main event fight. Strickland also wasn't as bad as everybody says it was, but it wasn't a good fight. We saw Strickland use those teeps and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. We talked about Islam fighting in the clinch. Francis Ngannou fought in the clinch. Go watch that video. This video here, I talk about how in boxing, Francis Ngannou is in the clinch, and he decides to say, no, Tyson Fury, no, 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 like Dikembe Mutombo. He denies the clinch, and Islam does a lot of good work from that, and Dustin Poirier did a lot of good work of denying clinching attempts with some of these things that he did here. Obviously, it's no Francis Ngannou, but not everybody is. You got to be 280 pounds and jacked to be Francis.